How Hitler went from artist to dictator. Hi, I'm David, and welcome back to another thought-provoking episode of our podcast. Adolf Hitler is one of the most infamous figures in history, known for his role in leading Nazi Germany and starting World War II. He is often remembered for his brutal dictatorship, his ideology of hate, and the devastation that he caused. But few people know that before he became the dictator responsible for the deaths of millions, Hitler had a completely different aspiration. He wanted to be an artist. In this episode, we'll explore a young man who once dreamed of becoming an artist, transformed into one of history's most notorious dictators. How did Hitler's early years as a struggling artist shape his future? What factors contributed to his rise to power? And how did the man who once painted landscapes and buildings come to lead a regime based on violence and oppression? Let's take a look at the early years of Adolf Hitler. Born in 1889 in Braunau am Inn, Austria, Hitler had an early interest in art. As a young boy, he was encouraged by his mother to pursue his passion for drawing, and he showed promise as a student of art. In fact, he applied twice to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but both times he was rejected. Historians have debated the significance of these rejections. Some argue that this failure shaped Hitler's sense of bitterness and resentment, while others believe it played a minor role in his eventual rise to power. Regardless, the rejection from the art world marked a turning point in his life. After his failures in Vienna, Hitler moved to Munich in 1913, hoping for a fresh start. But his life was soon upended by the outbreak of World War I in 1914. Hitler enlisted in the German army, where he served as a soldier during the war. He was wounded twice and received several medals for bravery. Like many veterans of the war, Hitler was deeply disillusioned by the outcome of the conflict and the Treaty of Versailles, which placed the blame for the war on Germany and imposed harsh penalties on the country. The Treaty of Versailles, in particular, became a significant source of frustration for Hitler. The treaty humiliated Germany, leading to widespread resentment and economic hardship. It was in this atmosphere of national humiliation and anger that Hitler began to formulate his radical ideas. He joined the German Workers' Party, which would later become the Nazi Party, in 1919, and quickly rose to prominence due to his powerful oratory skills and his ability to tap into the growing dissatisfaction of the German people. At this point, Hitler's path toward dictatorship began to take shape. He began to develop his ideology, one that combined extreme nationalism, anti-Semitism, and a desire for revenge against the perceived injustices of the Treaty of Versailles. He blamed Jews, communists, and others for Germany's problems, and he promised to restore the country to greatness by eliminating these so-called enemies. In the early 1920s, Hitler attempted a failed coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch. He was arrested and sentenced to prison, but during his time in jail, he wrote Mein Kampf, his manifesto in which he outlined his vision for Germany's future. It was in this book that Hitler expressed his belief in the superiority of the Aryan race and his plans for aggressive territorial expansion. Mein Kampf became the foundation for Nazi ideology, and it provided the blueprint for the policies that would lead to the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. After his release from prison, Hitler focused on building the Nazi Party into a powerful political force. He used propaganda, mass rallies, and his charismatic leadership to attract followers and gain political influence. By the early 1930s, the Nazi Party had become the largest party in the Reichstag, German parliament, and in 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Once in power, Hitler moved quickly to consolidate his control. He passed the Reichstag Fire Decree and the Enabling Act, which gave him the power to rule by decree and effectively dismantled the democratic institutions of the Weimar Republic. Hitler used this newfound power to persecute his political opponents, silence dissent, and establish a totalitarian regime based on fear, violence, and propaganda. Under Hitler's rule, the Nazi regime pursued aggressive policies of territorial expansion, culminating in the invasion of Poland in 1939, which sparked World War II. At the same time, Hitler's obsession with racial purity and his hatred of Jews led to the implementation of the Holocaust, a genocide in which 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, were murdered in concentration camps and extermination camps across Europe. So how did a failed artist become a dictator responsible for the deaths of millions? The answer lies in a combination of personal frustration, a volatile historical context, and the ability to exploit the fears and grievances of an entire nation. Hitler's early experiences as an artist and his rejection from the art world certainly played a role in shaping his worldview, but it was the social, political, and economic turmoil in Germany after World War I that provided the fertile ground for his rise to power. In many ways, Hitler's journey from artist to dictator is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the power of propaganda, and the potential for radical ideologies to take root in times of crisis. It's a reminder that individuals can rise to power not just because of their talent or intellect, but because of their ability to manipulate emotions, exploit fear, and promise solutions to complex problems. Thanks for tuning into this episode of our podcast. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes where we continue to explore the most pivotal moments in history.